Hey there. Welcome to another Slightly Redneck video. Working in the kitchen today. I had a Facebook friend ask me if I would post a video the next time I made yogurt, so that's what I'm doing. So to make yogurt, it's pretty easy. You're going to need milk. Get whole milk. Get full fat milk. Yogurt's not supposed to be low fat. You're going to need some kind of yogurt starter. Now you can buy yogurt starters. You can culture them out of the air, but that's kind of playing Russian roulette, and it's a little bit tricky. I'd suggest you stick with a proven starter. But to me, buying a starter, like a yogurt starter online, is sort of like buying brass to reload ammo. Why not just buy the ammo, shoot it up, save the brass? So same thing with yogurt. Buy yogurt at the store. Make sure you get one that's plain, that's not low fat, and that contains active and live cultures. And it'll say that on there. The one I'm using is Dannon natural plain yogurt. It's not low fat. It contains live active cultures. So that's all there is to it. Eat your yogurt. When you get down to about 2-3 tablespoons left, save that, make your next batch of yogurt. So the way this process is going to work is pretty simple. We're going to pasteurize the milk. And we're not really worried about sterilization here, but what we're going to do is disadvantage the bad bacteria to the point where the good bacteria can take over and recolonize. So we're just going to pasteurize this, bring it up in a saucepan to about 165 degrees, and then cool it back down. Then we're going to mix in our starter once it's cooled down a little bit. You do not want to mix your starter in before you've got your milk cooled down. You'll kill the starter off. If you put the starter in and bring it up to 165 degrees, it's going to kill it off. So we'll mix the starter in, and then we're going to incubate it for about 15 hours. And you can do that a number of different ways. I'm going to use a thermos, and I'll show you a few tricks with that. This works pretty well. You could also put it in like a mason jar, stick it in your oven, and just turn the oven light on, and that should do pretty well. Maybe wrap it in a couple of towels or something to keep it warm. It's not real picky about 115. That's the ideal temperature, but if it gets down to 100 degrees, it's not going to be that big a deal. If you really want to get high tech and make sure everything stays at 115 degrees, look into building one of the temperature sensors that I just put a video out on a couple of days ago, and I'll link to it right here. And you could easily rig that up inside a styrofoam cooler or even a cardboard box with a low wattage bulb and get that to keep it right at 115 degrees. So anyway, let's get started on this. First thing I'm going to do is I've already cleaned out my thermos here. I've got a pot of boiling water on here on the stove, and I don't know if you can see that or not. You can see the steam probably coming off of it. So what I'm going to do is just pour that water into my thermos. That does a couple of things for me. It kind of sterilizes, well, sanitizes anyway, my thermos here. But it also warms it up, so it'll be hot whenever I pour my yogurt in there, and it'll hold the temperature a lot longer. So nothing special about this. I just took a pot of water, boiled it. I'm going to pour it in this thermos, cap it off, and set it over on the side while I do the rest of the process. So let me get that done, and I'll come right back to you. All right, so my thermos is over there warming up. I'm going to go ahead and pour my milk. I know that my thermos holds about 4 cups of milk, so that's what I'm going to use, is about 4 cups of milk. And I'm just going to pour that into my sauce pot, and I'll bring you over here close so you can see this here in just a moment. So there's about 4 cups of milk. Then I'm going to turn this burner on, and I'm going to start warming this up. And don't walk away from this. It's milk heating up on the stove. You need to stir it pretty consistently or it's going to scald. So let me bring you in close so you can see that working, and then we'll pick up from there. So what I'm going to do is just kind of keep stirring this milk and heating it up basically. You're going to need some kind of thermometer to read by. It's probably in the ideal thermometer. It'd be better with a candy thermometer or something like that, but this is easier to see on screen, so that's why I'm using it, just a little digital read thermometer there. So stir your milk so it doesn't scald, and get it up to about 160, 165 degrees. If you don't have a thermometer, bring it up to where it just starts to boil, and then kill the heat and move it off the heat and keep stirring it until it starts to cool back down. So anyway, this is going to take a few minutes, so no sense in you watching all of it. We'll fast forward through this for you. All right, we're getting pretty close now, so, and really I could probably take it off the heat right now, but I like to let it get all the way up to 165. There we are. Kill the heat, remove it from the heat. Keep stirring that for a minute, let that temperature start to drop back down so it doesn't scald while it's sitting here. Okay, so while we're waiting on this to cool back down, because it's got to get back down below 115 degrees or 120 degrees, below 120 before you do anything. Take a little bit of that. I'm going to pour it out into here, just, I don't know, a couple of tablespoons or a couple of ladles worth. And I'm going to use this to mix up my my starter in. But again, let it cool down first. So I'm gonna set this on the counter here and just let all this stuff cool down, and then once it does, I'll come back and we'll pick up from there. All right, so got this thing cooling down pretty good. It's 130 degrees now, so the stuff I set out to the side is considerably cooler than that. I'm okay to go ahead and mix my my starter in. And all I'm going to do with this, and this is pretty easy to do, I'm just going to dump it in there, and then I'm going to stir it around until it's kind of smoothed out and there's not a bunch of lumps in there. So nothing really, I mean, you don't have to do this step. It's just a whole lot easier to stir it in here than it is inside there. So okay, I think that's good. So we'll give that just a minute to cool down just a little bit more, and then we'll stir our starter into our pot here with the rest of our milk. So I'm gonna let this get down to about 120 degrees before I pour it in there, because it'll still continue to cool down a little bit, and pour it in there, stir it in real quick, and then I'm gonna move pretty quick to get it into the thermos. So we'll give it just a second to cool down. All right, so my yogurt's cooled down to about my milk has cooled down to about 120 degrees, so working pretty quick. I'm just going to pour my starter into that, stir it around real good, make sure that it's mixed up real good, and then we're going to move it over to my incubation pots here. So let me get the camera moved over there so you can see up close for that. Okay, I like to do this in the sink because it can get kind of messy. So I've got my hot water in there, heating up my thermos, so I'm going to go ahead and pour that out. And then I'm going to take my yogurt and pour it into my thermos and try not to spill it everywhere when I do it. There we go. Probably some going to come out when I put this lid on. Then, since I'm using a thermos, I'm just going to cap it off, clean up the jar a little bit. We'll let that set for about 14-15 hours and then open it up and we should have yogurt. So magic of YouTube here. Next thing you see should be me opening this up with some good yogurt in it. So, well, this yogurt has been incubating for a while. I actually let it go a lot longer than I normally do because I got tired and couldn't get to it at the right time, but that's okay. This is a pretty forgiving process. You don't need to worry about it too much. Thing about making yogurt or any kind of fermentation really is you pretty much know if anything goes wrong. So let's open this up and see what we got here. So you should be able to tell. Oh yeah, right away, it smells like yogurt. I know you probably can't see that in there, but I'm going to pour it out. Now this is going to be a little thinner than what you're used to seeing at the store because there's no thickening agents added. You can strain it if you want, strain some of the whey off, and you'll be able to thicken it up a little bit that way. But I don't mind thin yogurt. So when I say a little thinner, it's actually quite a bit thinner, but you get the idea. So pour it out into my bowl, and there we have some new yogurt. So now you can taste it, but I will warn you because this is plain unsweetened yogurt. It's going to be pretty tart, and it's warm right now, so I don't really want to taste it right now, but made this dozens of times. Now, if you want to strain this, line a sieve or something like that with cheesecloth, and you can just pour it in there, and the whey will drain out, and you'll leave the curd behind, which will stiffen it up a little bit and give you a little bit fuller, well, a little bit more body to your yogurt, not quite as thin. So anyway, sweeten that up with whatever you want. I like to put in simple syrups with, blackberry fruits, honeys, those kinds of things with it. I don't mind it being thin. I kind of like it that way. But again, if you want to thicken it up, there's some options for you. So, thanks again for watching this video. I hope you learned something from this. And as always, God bless.